Yo, what's going on, True Blazer fans? It's Torey, and I'm back with another Monday mailbag. Now, I do know it's Tuesday. I don't have my days mixed up, but I wasn't able to get this out yesterday because I've had a crazy past couple of days, from waiting in line at FanFest for 4 hours and then enjoying that, to a bunch of my school stuff getting all messed up and me trying to sort that out. I just haven't had the time to sit down and record and edit a Monday mailbag. I know you guys expect them on Monday. If they don't release on Monday, you should expect them on Tuesday. It should be Monday or Tuesday. I do like, the title, Monday Mailbag. I aim to release it on Monday, but it might not always happen because I'm a college student. I got other stuff. And sometimes life gets kind of crazy. You know how it is. Sometimes you have to be a hammer, shoot. How does it go?
Being a hammer and shooting the rock, flame balls, baby. Good night.
Yeah, that's how it goes. So before we hop into your questions, I do want to finish up the player analysis series this week. We have Yusuf Nurkic, CJ McCollum, and Damian Lillard left to go. Hopefully I'll be able to get those done before the preseason game on Friday. And then we can jump into some videos that I'll be doing for the season. I'll be doing day after recaps the day after each game, just to kind of recap the game the night before. Might do weekly recaps. I'm not quite sure about that though. If you have any ideas on videos I should do during the season, let me know down in the comment section below. Like I said, I have a couple regular videos that I'll be doing throughout the season, but if you have any ideas, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I want to bring you guys content that you enjoy, so that's why I ask. Feel free to leave your comment. With that being said, let's jump into your questions from last week, starting with Anime Jake back with another question. He says, in the Blazers Media Day interview, Stott said he wanted the offense to move the ball more and ISO less. Do you think this will actually be the case in this upcoming season? I do hope so. I have seen them pass the ball a little bit more during the preseason, but it's hard to tell if that's actually going to happen or if he's going to revert back to just letting CJ and Dame play some hero ball type of stuff. Switching out Shabazz Napier for Seth Curry helps that, because Shabazz Napier was trying to earn that contract at the end of last year, and he was definitely forcing a lot of bad shots and trying to do too much by himself, while Seth Curry enjoys playing off the ball and moves well without the ball. So I do think that'll upgrade and help our ball movement and our player movement and our passing. It would definitely make us better if we pass the ball more and ISO less. It'd be a lot harder to guard, and in the postseason we would see more offensive success because it's hard to guard a ball that's moving and players that are moving compared to a ball that's being pounded into the hardwood with a player up at the top of the key not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we do make these changes, because I do think it would make us a lot better. Nikos Kodakris asks for a Maurice Harkless update. He says, can you find some news if he will be ready for the season opener? I do think he's going to be ready for the season opener. Seeing him in FanFest, it didn't really look like his knee was bothering him at all. He was kind of running around, joking around, like he didn't look bothered by any sort of knee. And they've said they want him to return for a preseason game, and then they expect him to be ready for the season opener, even if he's not able to return for a preseason game. So I do think he will be ready. I think they're just being cautious because they did kind of rush him back for the playoffs last season, and I think that's what caused his issues this summer. So I think they're just being cautious, trying to make sure he's 100% before they send him out there, because I think, honestly, if the postseason was going on right now, he could probably play, but that's the issue we had last season. So I'm not too worried about Maurice Harkless. If he isn't ready to go, Jake Layman might start, which Jake Layman's looked pretty good this preseason, so we'll just see how this plays out. GL Swenson, let me know if I'm saying that right. I don't know how you want me to say that, but they say, with the recent news that CJ won't be the primary ball handler in the second unit, do you see a situation where ET is the playmaker and CJ plays off ball, elevating both of their games? CJ will take fewer dribbles, and ET always performed the best in Boston when the game ran through him. I just think Evan Turner played the best in Boston because he was used as a high post facilitator and playmaker, which isn't how Portland's going to use him. And then he also had the right players around him and the right coach to actually put some responsibility in him. I don't think Terry Stotts can get as much out of Evan Turner as Brad Stevens did. ET bringing the ball up the floor wasn't really what he did in Boston. He would do it here and there, but he was primarily a guy that you'd enter the ball into the high post like we used to do with Mason Plumlee, and then he'd make passes out of there or attack. I do think it would help CJ to play off the ball a little bit more, but I think the one thing that would elevate CJ's game is just making the right passes, which is something I didn't really see in that first preseason game. Hopefully he's kind of able to develop that throughout the season. Bringing the ball up the floor for ET, I just don't understand it, because you could have CJ bring the ball and pass off to ET. You know what I mean? I don't see the difference in who brings up the ball. It's more of a difference in how sets are run and what the offense looks for and just the whole offensive philosophy in general. I just want to see more ball movement, more player movement, and more unpredictability throughout the offense, more transition play. Whether that's CJ handling the ball a lot or ET, it doesn't really matter to me. Definitive One, back with another question. He says, last year Dame wanted us to select Donovan Mitchell. He also was against the Barton for a Flalo trade. Do you think Lillard should have at least a little say-so or influence regarding who we go after? I do think he should have an influence, but he's also a guy who's going to be biased towards certain players like Donovan Mitchell, who I think that he and Donovan Mitchell had talked a little bit while Donovan Mitchell was in college. Mitchell also wore Dame's shoes in college and has so far in the NBA. So Dame might have been a little biased towards Donovan Mitchell because he was more familiar with him. Meanwhile, Olshey is going out and scouting multiple players, so he's much more well-versed in what different guys can do. I think Olshey should still get the final say, or whoever the GM is, because I'm not an Olshey fan, but the GM is the guy who goes out on the road and watches 100 college games in person a year. You know what I mean? Like, Olshey wasn't really at games last season, probably because he was scouting, and Dame's playing and not really seeing guys outside of maybe some highlights, or maybe every now and then he's able to watch a college game. So in terms of college scouting, I don't think Dame should really have a huge say. In terms of who we should trade for or moves we should make regarding NBA players, I think Dame should have more say in that because Dame's more familiar with NBA players. He goes against them. He knows them personally. He knows what they can bring to the table just as well as Olshey. So, yeah, that Barton for a Flalo trade was a mistake, but we were killing it right after we acquired a Flalo, and then Wes Matthews had that injury, and that ruined our entire season. So it's really hard to say how that trade would have worked out if Wesley Matthews didn't get hurt. So I do think he should have some say because we do need to keep him happy, but he definitely shouldn't be making the final decision. The Brennanator has a 3-part question. He says, who's the most underrated player on the Blazers? I'd probably say Jusuf Nurkic because people don't realize just how good defensively he is. I mean, this is a guy who came into a bottom 10 defense and made it a top 10 defense. He's very underrated in that area, and over the second part of last season, he was very good offensively as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more in Jusuf Nurkic's player analysis, hopefully coming tomorrow. Part 2 asks, who's the most overrated player on the Blazers? Honestly, I probably gotta say CJ because outside of scoring, what does he do well? You know, he's a great scorer, but people look at him as an all-star level player. I don't know, man. I don't know, because outside of his scoring, he doesn't pass the ball well, he doesn't rebound well, he doesn't defend well. He's kind of one-dimensional. He doesn't get to the line either, and he's not the most efficient player. While his field goal percentage and three-point percentage looked pretty solid, his true shooting percentage was under 55%, and that's because he couldn't get to the free throw line. I don't know. He's just a scorer, and people look at him as a huge part of this team. But outside of his scoring, he just doesn't bring enough. Part 3, there are only a couple good free agents left, like Nick Young or Jamal Crawford. Who should we sign? We already have 15 guaranteed contracts, so we don't really have room to sign anybody else. We can sign guys to two-way contracts, but Nick Young and Jamal Crawford don't qualify for those types of contracts. And honestly, Nick Young and Jamal Crawford, they're old. They can't defend. They're inefficient. I don't think they're good players anymore. I don't think they'd help this team at all. So I think we're standing pat as it is. Those guys might not even get signed. Those guys might be going overseas to play basketball next season. Final question, Insidious Swede says, since you were born in Vancouver, Washington, did you grow up a Sonics fan or were you always a Blazer fan? Well, actually, I was born in Germany because my dad was an Army veteran, so he was stationed over there when I was born. I ended up moving back to my family's hometown of Vancouver when I was 8 years old, and I immediately became a Portland Trailblazer fan just because I lived in the Portland-Vancouver area. You know, Portland is a 10-minute drive away for me, while Seattle is a 2-hour drive, so it's just natural for me to be a Portland fan through and through. Anyway, thank you guys for your questions this week. Make sure to leave a question down below. We're getting into the preseason, so if you have any questions based on what you've seen so far, I'd love to answer them. Thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you guys for all the support. This has been Torey. I hope you guys have a great week. Peace out. Go Blazers.